guys, and welcome back. My name is Lizzie Beth, and through this channel I'm trying to accomplish my 2019 goals. So if you'd like to follow me on that, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel. But just a little disclaimer, today's video is about the Bible, and I will be reading Genesis 1 verse 1. So if that is not your thing, then please do not feel like you need to listen to this. This is not what all of my videos will be, but one of my goals for this year was to read the Bible more. So I would absolutely love it if you want to join me, but if you don't, then please do not feel like you have to watch this video. I'm not trying to push my religion on anybody. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get into the video. Okay, so like I said, today we're going to be reading Genesis 1 verse 1. Basically what I usually use when I go over a verse is my Bible, as I'm showing you now, and I have the New Standard Revised Version. And then I also like to use a simple, just line notebook that doesn't have much in it. You can use really whatever you want, but I like this one especially. And I also like to use a lot of very colorful markers. This just kind of helps me differentiate between different things, and I think they're just more fun to use and keep me entertained while I'm going through this process. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to do before I actually dive into Genesis 1 verse 1 is think about what is the gospel to me. And so the gospel really can mean different things for other people, even if we get some of the same fundamental guidelines from it for how to live our lives. And so right off the bat, the first thing for me is a method of connection to God. And so for me, the gospel is a way to really connect to God and just to grow closer and grow stronger in my faith. And it is also a reminder to do the right thing. And through that, it gives me guidelines for what the right thing truly is. And so I can look to this in times of struggle and when I'm confused about what I should really be doing and what path I should be following in life. And I also like to think about what currently am I thinking of when I think of the gospel, and what currently can the gospel help me through. And so right now, it's a reminder to stay strong in times of stress. So I've attached a copy of Genesis 1 verse 1. Feel free to read this, or if you have your own copy, feel free to go ahead and scroll through this part. Okay, so following my reading of Genesis 1, verse 1, I decided to go ahead and write down in my journal different facts that I found to be very important from the reading. And so since this is the creation story, I thought that the 7 days of creation were very important. I thought that was something significant enough to write down in my journal. But if there's something else you'd like to write down, feel free to write that down in your own journal. So for day 1, I said that light was created, and then it was divided from the darkness. On day 2, I said that the atmosphere was created, and then it was divided from the oceans. On day 3, land was created and divided from water, and vegetation was also put on the earth at that point in time. On day 4, the moon, the sun, and the stars were created, and they were put out there to fill the sky. On day 5, creatures were created, and they filled the sky and the water. Moving on to day 6, creatures were put on the earth to fill the land, and man was finally created. On day 7, God decided to rest. And so like I said, these were important facts, and this was an important topic that I thought that I should write down. But if there's something else that you feel like you should write down, feel free to do that. This is your own personal journal, and so I do suggest that you personalize it in whatever way you find will be helpful for yourself. So after I had gone through the passage and picked out the facts that I decided I wanted to write down in my journal, I decided to go through and pick out the quotes that I found to be important, or just those that stuck out to me due to their language. And so for these quotes, I primarily looked through lines 26 through 28, and that was only because I really liked the quotes there, and I just found that they would be important to write down. And so the first one that I wrote down was, "Let us make humankind in our image according to our likeness." And this just struck me because I felt that it was really important to remember that God had tried to make us in his likeness, and this is continued in the next line when he says that in the image of God he created them. This just reminds me that God wants us to be good and wants us to do good and be like him and kind of make him proud on earth. And then the next quote that I wrote down was in line 28, and it said that God blessed them. And I feel like this is really important for me to remember on a daily basis, because sometimes it's easy to get wrapped up in our own problems, and I think that this is just a really good way to still remember how blessed that I am, how blessed most people are, and how I can overcome these problems with God's help. And then the next one I wrote down was that God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So once again, this just helps remind me how good the world really is, and despite the problems I'm going through, there's goodness all around me, and that I will get through whatever problem I am currently facing. So the next thing that I decided to write down following writing down my quotes was just some reminders. And so by reminders, I mean things that I just feel like I should think about on a day-to-day basis, and things that I think will help me through my daily life. And so the very first one that I wrote down following reading this passage was that God has blessed us all, and I just thought that this was really important for me to remember, and this would help me get through my day-to-day life and my day-to-day struggles. And so the next one I wrote down was that God wants us to please him and do good, and that is why he gave us this life. So this is just a really great reminder for me to stay on the right path and to stay positive and keep trying to do good in the name of God. And then the next one that I wrote down was that God is all powerful, and this just helps remind me that he can combat any situation no matter how big it is, and that if I work in his name, I'll be able to combat my own struggles and problems as well. And so again, these are just ones that I thought were important in my day-to-day life and things that were important for me, but please feel free to either use mine or come up with your own, because these should be things that you feel like you should think about on a day-to-day basis and that you feel will be helpful to you. Okay, so the final thing that I decided to write down from this passage was my own personal takeaway, or the goal that I created for myself from reading it. And so I wrote down to remember to respect the world's beauty and act in the way that God intended us to. And I just thought that this would be really important in my day-to-day life. Again, write down whatever you feel would be applicable to your own life. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give me any tips or tricks you guys have for studying the Bible. And please remember, I'm not an expert. I'm not trying to push my religion on anyone, but I'm just trying to take you guys along on my own journey of personal growth this year. So thank you for listening.
Hey guys, and thanks for watching my video today. Go ahead and like the video and subscribe to my channel if you want to follow me on my 2019 journey. And also let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see me try and do this year.